Hello, and welcome to the Scooby Zone, the podcast where I'm so nervous I wish I had a ham sandwich to calm my nerves, as we watch a bit of Scooby-Doo. I'm Rob.
And I'm Katie.
And today we'll be watching Mind Your Own Business, Episode 4 of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? And I know this is one of your favorite episodes.
It is one of my favorite episodes. You got it. Yep.
This is a very enjoyable one.
It is.
I don't recall seeing this one as often growing up, but it's definitely one that sticks with you once you watched it.
Once you watch it.
I can't complain about the ghost or what
can't
goes
either.
on in this.
Nope.
So you can find us online on the Scooby Zone podcast on Facebook and wherever we have
decide to put it on when we get to that point.
You can email us at scoobyzonepodcast@gmail.com. And, email us whatever you want. Questions about Scooby, comments about Scooby.
Comments about our podcast and how we're doing.
Yeah. If you have a fun, catchy name for our list where we are ranking all of the traps, because we still need a name for that.
Yes, we do need a name for that.
But we don't want to take up way too much of your time.
No, we do not.
Do you have anything to add before we decide to just jump straight into the episode?
I guess we should just jump right into the episode.
All right, so we're going to go split up and look for some clues, and we'll be right back. And we're back. That was Mind Your Own Business.
It was a pretty good episode.
It was.
So.
It is amazing at how long 22 minutes can feel.
It is, isn't it?
Because that did not feel like 22 minutes.
It did not feel like
that. Felt very short.
It did feel short.
And I don't know if that is a good thing.
It might not be a good thing.
It's like, love Scooby.
I do too, yeah.
Enjoyed this episode quite a lot.
Yes, very enjoyable.
But, yeah, it felt so very quick.
It did feel very quick, didn't it? Yep.
So, let's go ahead and take this from the beginning.
Yep.
So, we open with a shot of the ghost town, and we see the monster of the episode, the Miner 49er, walk by. Before we get a shot of the Mystery Machine driving by.
Yep.
And wouldn't you know it, they've got Shaggy as navigator. And in his infinite expert brilliance...
Oh, yeah, he's got that.
He's got the map upside down.
How does that happen? No wonder we're lost.
It makes that bit in the second live-action movie where he's reading the thing upside down, not understanding it. A lot more appreciative. That Shaggy reading things upside down goes all the way back to 1969.
Yep, definitely. You gotta go all the way, man.
After Velma points out that his map's upside down, they find out that they are in Gold City.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They decide to check into a guest ranch, for the night.
Yep.
Where the owner, Big Ben, he's delighted to see them because there are no other guests.
Yep. And
when they meet his assistant, Hank explains that it's because
of the miner.
The Miner 49er is the local ghost who's an old prospector who's in the mine looking for any gold that might be left.
Yep.
Because they figure they have nothing else to do for the night.
No, what else do we have? We don't have to sleep. Why would we have to sleep?
Right.
That's not important.
The gang decides to go into town to look around.
Yep.
And they don't really find anything. Shaggy and Scooby dip into a saloon.
Yep.
ask for a couple of sarsaparillas. And don't freak out when two mugs slide out by them that are, one, they're filled with spider webs, which they freak out over the fact they're filled with spider webs.
But not anything
But
else.
there's no one else in the saloon with them that they can see.
Yep.
Yet they don't question
it.
how they get.
Why would they?
How they get the mugs.
Yep.
It's like the ham sandwich.
It's like the ham sandwich. We don't question it.
They don't question it until something more scary happens.
Definitely.
But then they get startled again when a player piano starts playing.
By itself.
In which Velma points out, like, it's a player piano. It's supposed to do that.
Oh, okay.
Shaggy then gets frightened by a tree branch grabbing him while they're walking through a abandoned hotel.
Which surprisingly doesn't rip his shirt off as he's going through it.
Yeah, that was
holding on to Shaggy.
That's one ferocious tree branch. It's not letting go at all.
Not letting go to him or Scooby.
As they walk by through a hallway past a mirror, Scooby decides he's a little behind everyone. He decides to kind of mess around with the mirror, where eventually, after he disappears and comes back, instead of his reflection, it's the Miner 49er.
Yep.
And once again, we find another monster who is terrible at grabbing.
He's definitely terrible at grabbing. We definitely have to put that in there.
In which Scooby, in his running away, knocks over a cigar store Indian, in which the head comes off and they find inside a map of Gold City and the letters L and R and a set of numbers written on the map that Velma figures is probably the combination to a safe that she saw in the lobby.
Yeah.
Or the office. Was it the lot? I can't remember if she said.
I can't remember either. So.
Either way.
Whatever.
They go to the safe, and here we see another one of Shaggy's expert skills, in which he shows he's an expert safe cracker, because he just starts messing with the combination lock.
He does. Yep, messing with the
he's got his ear to the door, and he's just turning everything. When Fred points out that he's got the combination right here, just turn the knob to the left.
How does that even
But before he does, Scooby opens the door, so it's like...
How does that even
okay,
make any
Shaggy's
sense?
got it unlocked, because if it would have been open to start with, messing with the dial should have locked it, unless it's just there for show.
It must just be there for show. Yep, just for design purposes.
Yep. Yes. Inside the safe, we find an elevator. They all go on. Scooby doesn't.
Yep.
In which, have to bribe Scooby with Scooby snacks.
Yep.
To get him on.
Yep.
And the elevator takes them down into the mine. And here is where we get this week's safety warning, in which do not mistake sticks of dynamite for candles.
Because that's not what they are.
Because, it's a little dark. Shaggy finds what he thinks are candles and lights them. And no, it's dynamite, guys.
Dynamite.
So, yeah. That's our safety topic for the week,
guys.
Be careful with dynamite.
Yeah,
it's kind of explosive.
It's kind of explosive, isn't it? You can't blow them out either. You can't blow out the can.
Exploring a little deeper, they find a bunch of lit lanterns along the walls. And hearing a frightful moaning. Getting then terrified by the miner, who is, he chases Shaggy and Scooby through some mine carts and everything. And eventually, after a mishap where Fred falls into a bunch of flour, which we were...
Why was there flour in the basement?
We were never explained why there's flour in the mine. Like, it serves no purpose. Because the ghost isn't white.
No, yeah, I know he's not white. There's no sheet over him either. That is true. Why would there be flour in the mine? The ghost.
So, listeners, if you have any ideas why there's just random bags of flour,
please enlighten us. We'll
mine,
take any explanations here, please.
But anyways, after a mishap of Shaggy and Scooby running into a flour-covered Fred, thinking he's a ghost, the gang gets together again, and they find a wire running along the floor of the mine, in which they follow to a room with a tape recorder, which is hooked to a microphone and some loudspeakers, which, after hitting play, they hear the moaning. So they figure that's where the echoing moan is coming from. And they also find jars of crude oil.
But Shaggy thinks it's chocolate syrup, so he takes it and wants to eat it.
Luckily, Shaggy doesn't eat any of the oil, because that can only be so certain how that would screw up his stomach more.
Well, it doesn't happen because Fred grabs it out of his hand before he can even eat. Is that going to be safety precaution number 2? Don't eat crude oil that looks like chocolate syrup.
Might have to be. If it happens again next week.
Okay, all right. Next week, everybody. All right.
This is where they decide to lay their trap.
Ooh.
So, Shaggy, using his expert vocal abilities. Hey, where has Shaggy not been an expert in what he's done in this series so far? He's the swingingest gymnast in school.
Yes.
In that same episode, he throws his voice to make a knight think he's hiding in a pot. He expertly somehow manages to be a magician's assistant for a sawing in half trick.
Yeah.
Because usually you have to be prepped in advance on that trick to know, you're supposed to scrunch up in just half the box.
Well, I mean, it's the wonders of animation. Scooby-Doo logic doesn't have to wait, maybe that's why there's flour in the basement with Scooby-Doo logic. It doesn't have to make sense.
No.
Oh, maybe we figured it out. It's Scooby-Doo logic. It doesn't have to make sense. There you go.
But anyways, so again, Shaggy, using his vocal abilities, imitates a train over the microphone, while Scooby is, moving a rail car with a headlight attached to it, making the miner think that a train is coming through this abandoned mine. I guess we never said that the villains in Scooby-Doo were all that smart, did we?
No, we never did. I guess we can mention that now. They're not very smart.
Yeah. The trap, for the most part, works as intended.
It does work as intended.
Until Scooby is unable to stop and crashes into the tool shed that they had locked him in, which apparently is just a small bit of the mine floor. There's then a drop.
Yep.
The miner is holding on to the cliff. Scooby's holding on to the miner's boots, where they slip off. Scooby falls on the ground. Hopefully it was not that far of a drop.
I hope not, it wasn't, but it looks like it might have been.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
In which we see that the miner is wearing stilts. And Fred's infinite knowledge of deduction points to this can only be one short person we met, and it's
one person.
Hank.
Yep.
I think the fact that Hank and the ghost dressed exactly the same
Yeah, why wouldn't you have figured that out? Oh, hey, he's dressed up exactly like Hank was. Wouldn't it have been Hank? But then he's wearing stilts. They probably thought that made it more understandable that they wouldn't have known right away.
Yep. After Hank is arrested, which we don't see him arrested.
No, he's just gone.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened to him.
We end with the gang talking to Big Ben, in which, they're explaining to him, what Hank was doing, which essentially boiled down to trying to scare him off so that he could cash in on all of the oil.
Yep.
Again, you wouldn't have had this problem if you would have just, maybe, hey, I just found oil here. Why don't we go into business together? Now we're both rich. And
he wanted the money for himself. That's usually how it goes.
Usually.
Yep. He wanted all the money for himself.
While they're doing that, Scooby is on the stilts picking some apples, in which he steps in a gopher hole.
Yep.
Falls into a water trough with 2 apples. Shaggy mentions that one of those apples better be for him.
Yep.
And then we cut to black. End credits.
Yep.
This was a surprisingly fast episode.
It was, or it seemed very fast. I
don't
know. It seemed kind of weird how fast it was, where the other ones weren't as fast as that one, but that's kind of weird. But
because it's like, even Hassle in the Castle, felt like it took longer to watch that one than it.
Well, that's
did
right,
for
because
this.
that's probably our least favorite. That might be why, just because it was kind of, not. Yeah,
but a lot of I think a lot of what happens in that episode is it's there and it's memorable,
right?
But it serves no purpose.
Yeah.
Whereas here, not really a lot happens that extends the episode further.
Yeah.
And anything that is here that really wouldn't have needed to be just goes by so quickly.
It does. Yep.
But anyways, that was our recap of the episode. We have some more responsibilities for everything.
Yep.
So, how do we want to start with our responsibilities?
Oh boy. That's a good question.
Because I think we may have some differing opinions on some things here.
We might. Okay.
And again, it's not because either of us hate this episode or anything. We both enjoy this episode a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where we might have some differing opinions might just be because of personal choices.
It might be. Okay.
So, let's start with our Scooby snack intake. Because we can agree with.
This we can agree with.
Because it's just a regular number and average.
Right, it's just a regular number, doesn't it?
Scooby was bribed with 2 Scooby snacks this week.
Yep.
So we now have a total of 8 Scooby snacks.
8 Scooby snacks.
Throughout
the
Scooby-Doo, Where
so
Are
far.
You? We are still averaging 2 episodes per... 2 snacks per episode. Not 2 episodes per snack.
Yeah, that doesn't
wow.
2 episodes. I mean, then we're already there. All right.
Live recording, everybody.
You gotta love the live recording. All right. That's what podcasts are for.
Right. So, yeah, we're still not quite up to the 6.
No, we're not up to the 6 per episode. So I don't know how they're getting that, but I guess we'll see what happens as we go through the series.
On episode 4 of 25.
All right, so we got 21 more episodes to go.
Yeah.
We'll see how much more that goes up per episode. We'll see what happens.
Right. It will depend on, if we get it where he gets bribed more than once.
Yeah, we'll have to put that into account if that happens. That might happen.
So, there's that.
No.
Okay.
That. All right. What's on the to-do list for the
next? Let's do the trap list.
Oh boy. Okay.
Because I think we can. This one, I think we can both have easy agreements on.
Okay.
So currently on our list of unnamed trap
Unnamed
rankings.
traps. All right.
At number 1, so far the best trap has been the
better
Better Mouse Trap from Hassel in the Castle.
Yep.
That is the ridiculous Rube Goldbergian machine that Fred puts together with a suit of armor, a spring, a cannonball, and an old crossbow.
Yep. Okay.
Number 2, we've got the Instant Suds.
Yep.
Which was the ridiculous soap coming through a fire hose that they decided to let go while it was turned on.
Right. Well, and then you left Shaggy all by himself holding it,
Yeah.
so he's in midair trying to work with it.
Yeah. So we've got Fake Train. That's what I'm calling this one.
Right. Fake. That sounds pretty reputable. All right.
Where should we rank this one?
Ooh. I don't think it's better than
It's not better than Better Mouse. I
don't think it'd be better.
Nothing is going to be better than the Better Mouse Trap.
I don't think so. Okay, so.
But I do think this is.
It's better than Instant Suds.
Yeah, this
though,
actually
so this
worked if they would have figured out how to get Scooby to stop.
All right, so it is now number 2.
It is number 2.
Okay. So Fake Train is before.
Yep.
It's before Instant Suds, but after a Better Mouse Trap.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that one we can agree on.
Yes.
It's a good trap, but not as good as a Better Mouse Trap. But it's better than Instant Suds.
Yes, honestly, but besides episode 1, which had no trap,
no,
I don't think there's going to be a worse trap than Instant Suds.
I don't think so either.
That being said, I do not remember a lot of the traps that we are eventually going to get. For all I know, I think there might be some episodes where we get no trap.
There might be, just like the first episode, but we'll see how many don't have them. We'll have to do a tally of how many don't have traps.
Right. So, monster or episode? What should we rank next?
Oh, let's do monster.
Okay, so
Manifest of Monsters.
All right, our Manifest of Monsters. It is currently sitting at number 1 is the Ghost of Captain Cutler.
Yep.
Number 2 is the Black Knight Ghost.
Yep.
And number 3 is just Ghost.
The Ghost.
The Vasquez Castle Ghost.
Okay.
Which looks like just a person in a sheet.
A sheet. It's probably what it is, because he had it like that.
Now, what are your thoughts on Minor 49er?
I mean, I would say he's before the Black Knight, but not. He's like number 2. I don't think he's better than Captain. Unless you think I'm wrong.
So this is where part of our disagreement might start coming.
Okay, all right. What do you?
First, I am not going to argue against how iconic the Minor 49er is as a villain.
Right.
I get, as we talked about at the end of last week, he's one of the monsters that was popular enough and iconic enough that was a big part of the second live-action Scooby-Doo movie, where they were showing a lot of the iconic Scooby-Doo monsters. Like, we had Tar Monster, we had
the Black Knight,
we had Captain Cutler, we had the zombie.
Yeah.
So, this is a iconic villain.
Yep.
But honestly, I think the costume is lazier than Vasquez Castle's Ghost.
You think it's lazier than
I actually
Ghost?
do.
I think the Ghost would be lazy. It's just a sheet over some money.
But the guy is just wearing his regular clothes, plus stilts, and a fake beard and hat.
Well, at least he had the stilts.
Like, honestly, the fact they couldn't think... I can forgive them not figuring it out sooner.
Okay.
Because for all, Hank could have just been wearing what, an old-time prospector may have worn for authentic guest ranch business choice. Mm-hmm. Okay? I can forgive that. But also if there had been more people in the actual town. Mm-hmm. the fact that there's only 2 people in the entire town. One of them is dressed exactly like the ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, fine. It'll be number 4. We'll make it be number 4 then, even though I think it should be... I thought it would be at least before the ghost, at least.
That being said, I can agree, I think, I think we're a little too hard on Ghost.
Okay.
Just because it's like, I mean, very late, like, it looks like a lazy man's ghost, just a person in a bed sheet.
Yep.
Whereas, Black Knight, we have Black Knight above Ghost, and that's just a suit of armor.
Well, at least it's a suit of armor versus a...
like, I will agree. Okay, well, you can put, the minor 49er up at number 2.
Okay, you're really gonna do this? You really want to do that?
I will accept that. Like, mostly I wanted to vent about how lazy his costume does look, but he is an iconic ghost.
Right. So you're gonna have to update your list once we get it. There you go. Okay, alright, so
now it's time for the Table of Spooks, you guys.
Yeah, Table of Spooks.
How many Scooby Snacks do you personally give this episode?
You really want yours is probably gonna be less than mine. To me it's a really good episode. I mean, I would... This one, probably for me, would be the 5 stars because it's more iconic. It's one of my more favorites.
No, and I can respect that.
Okay.
Obviously, we're going to be biased.
Right.
Our favorite episodes are probably going to sit here and argue that they are 5 out of 5s.
Yep.
I would give me personally, I would give this a 4.
Okay, I can.
I
can accept that.
It's not a terrible episode.
No,
the big downside for me is like it's over so quickly.
Yeah.
That it's like it's one of those shows that you can put on like, oh wow, 25 or 22 minutes is already done.
Right.
But no, like it is a fun, enjoyable episode. Right. That it's got some of that iconic Scooby humor you would expect,
it does.
Shaggy and Scooby asking for something, it's suddenly magically appearing, and it takes them a bit before they decide to freak out.
It does take them a bit. Yep.
So yeah, I think, if you're okay with giving it a 4, I think a nice solid 4.
I think a 4 would be good. No, I can respect that because,
Which I think then puts this at like our second 4 of an episode.
Okay.
Because I think, going off the top of my head, I can pull up the list later and let you guys know next week if you really want to know.
Right.
But I think Clue for Scooby-Doo, which is another personal favorite of ours, I think that also got a 4.
That might have, yeah. Just the iconic gives it more of the rating than anything else. Or if there's something really funny in the episode or like some funny...
Yeah. Because I think for me what stops it from being like a 5 out of 5 perfect episode is just the small bits that we skipped over in the recap because it added nothing, was when Daphne somehow fell down a hole
and
Scooby went to pull her up.
Yep.
He actually pulls up the miner before dropping him. And then we see Daphne standing outside of the hole.
Magically standing next to everybody else, and there's no one picked her up and got her out.
It served no purpose other than you just caught the villain. You could have unmasked him right there. What are you guys doing?
What are you guys doing? I thought you were mystery solvers. Why didn't you just unmask him right there? Because Fred could have just pulled it right off like he usually does. He could have just pulled them off and we could have been done already and not have to worry about doing all this other stuff. But, we had to have the right time and the right moment, and this apparently wasn't it.
Right. So that is it for this week, I think.
I'm pretty sure that's it. We got a good handle on that one.
Yeah. There's Wow, guys, this was really short this week.
This was really short.
Um,
short episode, short podcast.
Only other thing, this is going to be old news by the time you all hear this. But I guess we can talk about it for a little bit now.
Okay.
Recently, as of recording, within the last couple of weeks before we sat down to record this, it was announced that McKenna Grace will be playing Daphne in Netflix's live-action Scooby-Doo adaptation.
Yep.
So I think she's going to do a good job.
I think so too.
There's not a lot of stuff I can think of off the top of my head that I've seen her in. I know I've seen her in Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I thought she did a good job with her role there. So, hey, she's got the ghost busting down.
Right? She gets the mystery solving down. Then she'll be all set.
Yeah. I'm going to be very curious as to who they cast in for the rest of the Mystery Inc.
Yep.
And how well that chemistry will then work.
Right.
I don't think they've said anything on what the whole plot synopsis will be for this.
I don't think they released that yet. That's not.
I think right now all that we know is McKenna Grace will be playing Daphne, and Matthew Lillard has some form of involvement.
Right, but we don't know what it's gonna be.
At this point, my guess is it's probably going to be not exactly a cameo, but he's probably going to have like a big part as a supporting character.
That probably sounds about right.
But we'll find out when the rest of you guys find out.
Right. Yep. That'll be.
So, yeah, next week we've got Decoy for a Dog Napper. With what I would say is one of the more problematic ghosts of
it probably
Scooby-Doo,
is one
Where
of
Are
the more
You?
problematic ghosts.
And not problematic because that's a terrible ghost.
Nope.
Spoilers for next week. It's, I believe there's some Native American appropriation with the ghost, which
I think that,
which again is where nowadays it might be a little insensitive, problematic.
Right.
But that's what you get when you're watching something that was made back in
the late 60s,
like 69, 70.
Right.
Because we are still within the episodes that were airing at the last couple of months of 1969. I don't think we get to the 70s until we get to.
Isn't that one to be season 2?
I believe so.
Is that?
No. A Night of Fright of No Delight was January of.
Okay.
So, which is, I believe, the second to last episode of season 1.
Okay.
So, but yeah, 69, 70,
Right.
Some of these episodes have aged better than others, going back to A Night of Fright of No Delight, when that episode first aired, the whole counterfeit money reveal at the end of the fortune being that, back in the 70s, Confederate money wasn't worth anything at that point. But whereas nowadays, serious coin collectors and other collectors of Civil War area memorabilia, that actually would be worth something nowadays.
Yeah.
But we will touch more on that within the many weeks after this, where we actually watch that episode and its accompanying episode.
Yeah.
Probably more in the actual Scooby episode.
Probably.
So, Until next time, guys, just remember, do not light dynamite thinking that it's a candle.
Or think that...
Or think oil is chocolate syrup.
Chocolate syrup.
It's kind of nice that oil is not the same color as chocolate syrup.
It is, but yet someone thought it was chocolate syrup. Well, tell that to Shaggy when he thought it was chocolate syrup.
Right. And just remember, guys, they would have gotten away with it too.
If it weren't for those meddling kids.